We're starting this week's video the same way we finished last week's, at the scale. When we arrived, the counter stood at 148.70 kilos. After another morning of pulling, rinsing, and bagging, we're adding a fresh 37.25 kilos to the total. That puts us at 185.95 out of 1,000 kilos, and considering what's still growing, we're well on our way. Today's harvest was a mixed one. Brassica leaves, still coming in strong, carrots in all their odd and wonderful shapes, sugar snaps, small but sweet, and one final bag of celery that, well, didn't even register on the scale. 0 kilos, but still delicious. Sometimes it's not about the weight. It's about the flavor. Now that everything's been weighed and sorted, the real work begins. Because today's not just a harvest day. It's a transformation day. We're clearing out space. A lot of it. The bean plants are coming out. The last brassicas are going. Garlic's coming up. And the final carrots? Time to say goodbye. Why? Because this garden is about to go all in on tomatoes. The cucumbers are already climbing. The courgettes are loving the early warmth, and now it's time for the summer crops to take over completely. Let's make room and get planting. We kick things off today with a closer look at the sugar snaps. And, well, this white dust on the leaves? That's powdery mildew. Not uncommon this time of year, especially when things get crowded. And the sugar snaps have definitely outgrown their space. But here's the thing. Courgettes are also vulnerable to mildew, and they're right next door. Still young, still growing, so we're not taking any chances. The sugar snaps have done their job, and now it's time to clear them out before this spreads. And really, that's the story of the whole garden right now. It's full, overflowing even. The last of the brassicas are still hanging on, tall, leafy, and mostly past their prime. We've already harvested the best of them, but a few are still standing, just long enough to shade out the next crop. The garlic is wild. It looks more like tiny trees than vegetable plants. Strong, upright, and very ready to move aside. They've had their time. In between all that chaos, you can spot the future starting to come through. Tomatoes, courgettes, cucumbers. Some of them were planted a few weeks ago, and they're doing their best to hold their ground. The courgettes are already forming baby fruits. The cucumbers are just starting to climb. And the tomatoes? Stable, but clearly ready for more space. That's what today is about, making room for the crops that are going to do the real work, the plants that will bring in kilos, the ones that will get us closer to that 1,000 kg goal. And while we're clearing out the old, we'll also be planting more tomatoes, so the next round of growth can get started right away. One last look at the garden as it is, before we roll up our sleeves and start changing it. We've reached that turning point in the season. The early crops have served their purpose, and now it's time to pass the torch. Today, we're clearing, pruning, pulling, but we're also planting, planning, and pushing forward. Because even though we're already well past 180 kilos, we've still got a long way to go, and every square meter we free up now is a step closer to what this garden is really capable of. Let's get to it. We're back in the garden path. The boots are muddy, the crates are ready, and today, it's time to say goodbye to the carrots. All of them. We're not thinning, not picking a few, not waiting for the rest. We're pulling every last one. The carrot chapter of this season is officially closing. Harvesting carrots has a particular kind of joy. They're hidden treasures. You never quite know what you're going to get until you grab that feathery green top and give it a tug. Will it be long and elegant? Short and squat? Doubled like it's trying to hold hands with itself? There's a certain drama to it. A moment of truth. Carrots are satisfying. Not just in the way they come out of the ground with that satisfying snap of resistance, but in their versatility. These roots are powerhouse vegetables. Packed with beta-carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A, They're basically superheroes in disguise, good for your eyes, skin, immune system, and they even help fight inflammation. All that in something you can shred into a salad, or snack on while pretending you're a rabbit. And let's not forget carrot greens. Most people toss them, but not us. These tops are totally edible, full of potassium, calcium, and even some protein. They're great in pesto, chimichurri, or tossed into a broth to deepen the flavor. If you're into nose-to-tail eating, carrot top-to-root cooking is the garden version, but we're not just pulling these beauties for lunch. We're pulling them because the time is right. They've had their run, and the weather's shifting. If we leave them too long, they'll split or go woody, or worse, they'll bolt. And nobody wants to chew on a carrot that thinks it's a tree. Speaking of trees, ever wonder where carrot seeds come from? Not from the carrots you eat, but from the ones you leave behind, the ones you let go full drama queen. Carrots are biennials, which means they only flower and produce seed in their second year. So if you want seeds, you need patience. In year 2, they send up tall, elegant stalks topped with delicate umbrella-like flowers, like Queen Anne's lace, because that's actually a wild carrot cousin. Pollinators love them. Bees practically move in. Those flowers eventually dry out and turn into seeds, tiny, bristly little things that you collect by gently rubbing the umbels and letting the seeds fall. It's a slow process, but if you're patient, one plant can give you thousands of seeds. Enough to replant your garden 10 times over or share with your neighbors and accidentally start a carrot revolution. So as we clear the rows, we're not just saying goodbye. We're celebrating a job well done. These carrots filled in gaps, soaked up the spring rains, and gave us food, compost, laughter, and probably a few social media posts. They were never meant to be the headline crop, but they showed up. And honestly, isn't that what half the gardening battle is? Today, the crates fill up fast. Carrots thud gently into the pile. Tops rustle, hands get orange. And even though the row looks bare when we're done, it doesn't feel like a loss. It feels like a page turned. One chapter closes. Another bed opens up. And with the carrots gone, the stage is set for something new. Because gardens don't end. They evolve. And that right there, that's the joy of it. Let's keep digging. Now on to the next chapter, the sugar snaps. This is the bittersweet part. They've done well. They climbed, they produced, they made the trellis look like a wall of green candy. But the truth is, their time is up too. Powdery mildew has arrived. And once that shows up, it doesn't send itself home. It especially loves warm, damp spots, and if we're not careful, it could leap right over to our courgettes, which are just getting started. So, the snap peas have got to go. We're picking. Everything we can as we go. Every last pod gets harvested. Even the slightly bent ones, the overripe ones, the tiny ones that didn't get the memo, they all get gathered. Nothing is wasted. Snap peas, after all, are one of those rare crops where you eat the pod whole. No peeling, no paring, just bite and crunch. They're sweet, crisp, and perfect raw, in stir-fry or even pickled. From a nutrition standpoint, sugar snaps are little green jackpots. High in fiber, vitamin C, and vitamin K, they're excellent for your immune system and bone health. And because you eat them whole, you get the full benefit of all that plant power. Nothing gets left behind. They're especially helpful during spring gardening, when you need a quick-growing, low-maintenance win. While other crops are still thinking about whether they want to sprout, sugar snaps are already halfway up the trellis, blooming and getting things done. They're also great team players in companion planting. Sugar snaps help improve the soil for nearby heavy feeders like brassicas, and if you've got shady spots in the garden, their quick vertical growth can create microclimates for lettuce or spinach that need a little protection. They have a quiet kind of efficiency. From seed to harvest in just 2 months, they're overachievers in green jackets. And if you stagger the planting every couple of weeks, you can keep the snap train running well into the summer. Here's something else. Sugar snap. Roots aren't just nitrogen fixers, they're living architecture. After you cut the tops, the root systems hold the soil together, aerate the bed, and encourage microbial life to thrive. It's like they're saying, even when I'm gone, I've got your back. Pollinators adore them. The small white or purple-tinged flowers are like a spring buffet for bees and other beneficial insects. So planting sugar snaps isn't just good for your stomach, it's good for the whole ecosystem. They bring life and buzz to the early garden when not much else is flowering. There's also a sensory side to sugar snaps. The sound of snapping pods, the rustle of their vines in the breeze, the way they curl around string like they're whispering. Secrets to the trellis. They're tactile, musical, alive. Culturally, sugar snaps have gained iconic status among home growers. They represent everything wholesome and satisfying about gardening. They're low effort, high reward, and friendly to beginners. A gateway vegetable, if you will. Grow one season of sugar snaps, and you're hooked for life. And they've got charisma. Sugar snaps are often the first plant people feel confident growing. You tuck a few peas into damp soil, walk away, and a few days later, magic. Sprouts. And those sprouts don't dawdle. They shoot up, grab whatever's nearby, and keep climbing. They're goal-oriented, hard-working, and weirdly inspiring. When you let some pods stay on the vine and dry, you're allowing the plant to complete its life cycle. This is a gift to both the plant and yourself. Not only do you get future seeds, but you participate in the continuity of your own food system. There's something beautiful in harvesting seeds from the same line of plants you ate from just weeks before. And sugar snap seeds store well. Keep them dry and dark, and they'll hold for years. Tuck them away in labeled envelopes and pull them out next spring with a sense of triumph. Some gardeners even collect the tendrils, the delicate curly ends, to use in salads and garnishes. They're edible, sweet, and pretty much the botanical equivalent of an elegant eyebrow. Now, we can't talk about sugar snaps without mentioning how they thrive in cool weather. That makes them ideal for early spring or late fall growing. They like the chill. They don't panic when the temperature drops. In a garden full of drama queens, sugar snaps are the calm, reliable friend who brings snacks. Their presence is also a quiet signal. Spring is here. When sugar snaps are in flower, you know the season is underway. They set the tone. They say, "Let's get started." And they finish just as gracefully. No fuss, no complaints. Just a quiet winding down as the temperatures climb. They know their role. They know when to exit. Let's not forget their legacy. Sugar snaps leave behind a bed that's softer, healthier, and primed for what's next. And their vines, once composted, break down into rich, fertile humus, feeding future plants with the memory of green crunch. Even in their final days, sugar snaps are generous. The older pods may be a little too tough for snacking, but they're perfect for tossing into soups, broths, or even stir-fries where a little extra cooking brings out a rich, almost nutty sweetness. And when they really go over the edge, chickens love them. Compost loves them. Even slugs seem to nod respectfully as they move past. They've also become a bit of a social vegetable. Search online and you'll find sugar snap lovers comparing notes like proud parents, whose plants climbed fastest, who got the first pod, who planted the earliest. They're a brag-worthy crop, but in the gentlest, greenest way. In school gardens, they're a favorite with kids. Why? Because they're fast, forgiving, and fun to harvest. There's nothing quite like handing a 6-year-old a pod still, warm from the sun and watching them crunch into it with wide eyes. Sugar snaps make gardening feel like magic, and they're photogenic. Let's be honest, you've probably taken more photos of sugar snap trellises than your last family dinner. The delicate spirals, the fresh green pods, the light filtering through leaves. It's nature's wallpaper. So when we say goodbye, it's with deep appreciation. These weren't just plants. They were pace setters. They were green optimism. strung between poles, reminding us that even early in the season, with frost still a memory and heat not yet arrived, growth is possible. We snip, we gather, we clear. But it doesn't feel like cleaning up. It feels like closing a chapter. Until next season, sugar snaps. You've done your job, and you've done it beautifully. Every harvest in this garden has a purpose, not just to feed us, but to feed others too. That's where Stichting Vikes comes in. Vikes is more than just a local organization. They're a vital link between the fresh produce grown here and the people in our neighborhoods who need it most. Every week, they help distribute our crates of greens, roots, and sometimes even slightly chaotic-looking Brassica leaves to families and individuals across Den Haag. It's not just about filling bellies. It's about community, about dignity, about making sure that the abundance of this greenhouse doesn't stop at the garden gate. Weeks sees the people that food banks sometimes miss. The elderly who can't get out as easily. The single parents who've got too much on their plate, quite literally. They make sure that fresh food goes directly where it makes the most impact. Not through red tape, not through endless forms, but through hands, smiles, and stories. Sometimes it's a family who hasn't had fresh carrots in weeks. Sometimes it's someone who's never tasted beet greens before, but now asks for them by name. These vegetables may start in soil, but they end up making human connections that run just as deep. And let's be honest, it's what keeps us going. Knowing that all this effort, all these wheelbarrows and muddy boots result in more than a compost pile. It becomes nourishment, shared, celebrated, and appreciated. So if you've ever wondered where that bag of greens ends up, it's with weeks. And from there, it finds its way to someone's plate, someone's family, someone's day. That's why we keep planting, and why we'll keep giving. Everything we do here, we do with the help of our gardening buddy. Hello, AI buddy. I have 3 M2 space left in a shady spot. What can I grow there? Don't include herbs.
Although many vegetables and fruits prefer full sun, there are several types of plants that can tolerate and even thrive in shady spots. Leafy greens, spinach, Swiss chard, and kale don't need as much sunlight as some other vegetables.
Our AI gardening buddy helps us think a little clearer and dig a little smarter. We've built it for ourselves, but you can try it too. Sign up for free. Link in the description. Now, back to the real work. As we look toward the future of this garden, and gardens like it, there's one tool quietly working its way into the soil: artificial intelligence. It might sound strange, pairing silicon chips with compost, but AI is already reshaping how we grow food. From predicting weather patterns with pinpoint accuracy to optimizing planting schedules based on soil moisture and sunlight, AI is becoming the gardener's new best friend. Imagine being able to scan your plot with your phone and get instant feedback. Which plants are thirsty, which ones have pests, which are thriving. AI models trained on thousands of gardens can recognize signs of blight before the human eye ever spots them. Diseases, nutrient deficiencies, and even companion planting suggestions, all served up in seconds. And as gardeners, we need all the help we can get. Climate patterns are shifting, seasons are less predictable, and gardens that once followed a familiar rhythm now require more agile decision-making. AI helps bring that agility. It tracks trends, warns us when to harvest early, and tells us where to focus our attention. No more guessing games, no more forgotten rows. But perhaps the biggest gift AI offers is confidence. For new gardeners unsure where to begin and seasoned ones juggling too many tasks, AI levels the field. It doesn't replace intuition. It enhances it. It lets you focus on the joy of growing, while quietly handling the data crunching in the background. In our garden, we've started using an AI gardening buddy to log our crops, track harvest weights, and even analyze which varieties perform best in our microclimate. It's not flashy, just quietly useful. Like a head gardener who never sleeps. As this technology continues to evolve, the possibilities grow. personalized growing guides, pest-resistant crop rotations, real-time community planting networks, even fully autonomous greenhouse systems. And, if that sounds like science fiction, just wait. Because the future of gardening isn't high-tech or low-tech, it's smart tech. And smart gardens, they grow more than just food. They grow smarter gardeners. We dig, we turn, and sometimes we discover. Last autumn, hidden deep in the soil, we found garlic. Forgotten? Left behind? Who knows? But what we did know, this was gold. Edible gold. We pulled the bulb apart, clove by clove, and just like planting seeds in hope, we planted each clove with intention. Every single one, a promise of flavor, of growth, of what's to come. And then, we waited. Over the past months, you may have seen them grow. First little shoots, pushing through. The soil, bright green, determined. We even snipped off a few here and there, just the greens, because yes, they taste like garlic too. Mild, fresh, perfect for topping off a salad or stirring into warm rice. Meanwhile, under the surface, something else was happening. The real work. Each plant was quietly splitting, multiplying, transforming, all while playing its role in the bigger picture. Because garlic doesn't just grow, it gives. It's one of the best companion plants you can have. It protects, it repels, it strengthens, keeping pests away, helping neighbors thrive. A silent guardian in the garden, and now, it's time. The stalks are drying, the bulbs are ready. Let's pull one out. Just look at that. Firm, full, and beautifully layered. One clove became one plant, and one plant gave back so much more. We've harvested dozens. This is what we got in return. An abundance of garlic, strong, healthy, homegrown. It all started with a surprise in the soil. Now it ends with baskets full of flavor, from one forgotten bulb to a garlic harvest. We'll be tasting for months. Now that the garlic is out, along with the sugar snaps, the carrots, and even the last of the cauliflower, you can really see it. The space, the quiet after the harvest. All this room, waiting for something new, for the next generation. Like the zucchinis. They've been waiting patiently on the sidelines. And now they get to take the stage, to stretch out, soak up the sun, and flourish. Every end in the garden is just the beginning of something else. Today's harvest? Let's just say, the garden is no longer whispering, it's shouting, mission accomplished. First up, garlic. From a surprise find in the soil last fall to a full-blown bulb bonanza. Not only delicious, but a real team player. Keeping pests away and flavor close. And don't get us started on how good those green shoots were on toast. Then came the brassicas. Cauliflower, broccoli, you name it. They may take their time, but when they show up, they bring crunch, flavor, and a weird sense of pride. Like, look at this alien-looking beauty I grew myself. Next, sugar snaps. They came in fast, climbed everything in sight, and handed us sweet little pods on a silver vine. Sometimes we harvested them. Sometimes we just ate them straight from the plant like garden snacks. Zero regrets. And let's not forget the carrots. They may grow underground, but when you pull one up and it's actually straight, that's a tiny miracle worth celebrating. Twisted or not, their crunch is unmatched, especially when they're fresh and still have a bit of dirt for that authentic homegrown flavor. Just kidding. Wash your veggies. So now, with all of them harvested, garlic, brassicas, sugar snaps, carrots, look at the space we've reclaimed. The beds are open, the sunlight's hitting the soil again. It's like the garden took a deep breath and said, "All right, who's next? And who's stepping up?" The zucchinis. They've been biding its time, watching from the sidelines, probably whispering, "Finally, our moment." Now, they have space, nutrients, and all the spotlight it wants. Let's see what it can do. Because in gardening, every harvest is a celebration, and every empty bed is an opportunity. Speaking of opportunity, want to know a power couple that actually works? Tomato and basil. They're not just great on a plate, they're great in the garden too. Basil helps repel pests like aphids and whiteflies, while tomatoes provide just enough shade to keep basil from frying in the summer sun. We'll tell you more about that in the next episode. And that's the full haul. Cauliflower, broccoli, sugar snaps, and a touch of celery. Small in weight, big in flavor. In total, 37.25 kilos. Not bad for a single day. And even more special, it all went according to plan. A rare thing in the IE garden. But hey, we'll take the win. This harvest is heading straight to Stichting Vikes, where it'll hopefully bring a smile, a meal, or maybe both. Next time, we'll shift the focus to tomatoes and basil. One's juicy, the other's fragrant. Together, they're summer in a bite. If you enjoyed this, hit like, share it with a fellow grower, and subscribe if you haven't already. Every little bit helps spread the roots of this story. You can grow it.